The night felt wrong from the moment Emily stepped through the door. A cold draft crawled across the room. Her phone buzzed with a message that shouldn't exist. A name she had erased months ago reappeared on the screen. Silence wrapped around her like a warning she couldn't ignore. Down the hallway, a faint creak echoed once, then stopped. She tried to steady her breath, but her heartbeat thudded louder. Something in the house had changed while she was gone. The lights flickered, as if reacting to her fear. Outside, a car engine idled in the darkness. Emily moved toward the window, her hands trembling. A shadow stood beside the vehicle, waiting without moving. Another message appeared, colder than the first. Her past was no longer staying in the past. And whoever had returned was closer than she realized. Emily backed away from the window as the shadow shifted slightly. Her fingers tightened around the phone until her knuckles paled. She forced herself to breathe, but each inhale felt shallow and sharp. The second message glowed on the screen with unsettling calmness. It read like someone was already inside her life again. She turned on the hallway light, but the bulb flickered weakly. A buzzing sound hummed above her head before fading into silence. Emily stepped toward the kitchen, keeping her footsteps slow and controlled. Every corner felt sharper than she remembered from the morning. Her mind replayed the messages she thought she had buried long ago. The person behind them had once known every secret she carried. She whispered to herself that it had to be a mistake. But the feeling crawling beneath her skin disagreed completely. A cupboard door sat slightly open, though she never left it that way. She reached out and pushed it closed with hesitant fingertips. The click echoed, louder than it should have in the small space. Emily checked the back door to ensure the lock was secured tightly. The metal latch felt cold, as if someone had touched it moments earlier. She wiped her palm against her jeans and stepped back carefully. A soft vibration came from the counter, where her phone rested again. Another message arrived without any preview text visible on the screen. Her throat tightened as she tapped it open with trembling hands. The message only contained 2 words that chilled her immediately. I remember. Memories flashed of arguments she tried to erase from her mind. The voice that once sounded warm had turned dangerous in the end. Emily closed her eyes and pressed the phone to her forehead. She wondered how long she had been watched without noticing anything. The house suddenly seemed too quiet to feel natural anymore. She walked to the living room and checked each window cautiously. The street outside looked calm, but the air felt tense and heavy. A distant dog barked once, then stopped abruptly as if silenced. Emily's pulse thudded in her ears like a warning she couldn't ignore. She spotted her reflection faintly in the darkened glass. Her eyes looked more afraid than she wanted to admit. A floorboard creaked behind her, soft but undeniable. She spun around quickly, clutching her phone like a shield. No one stood there, yet something felt recently disturbed. The air carried a faint scent she recognized from the past. It lingered like a ghost she never invited back inside. Emily backed toward the center of the room for safety. Her phone vibrated again with relentless persistence. This time she didn't want to look, but she had to. The text on the screen appeared slowly, as if typed in real time. Turn around. Her breath froze as her body refused to move. The house held its silence tightly, waiting for her reaction. Emily realized she was no longer dealing with memories. Someone had crossed the line between remembering and returning. Emily stood frozen as the quiet pressed harder against her ears. The message burned on the screen like a command she couldn't obey. Her hands felt numb as she gripped the phone tighter. She forced her gaze toward the hallway without turning fully. The shadows there looked thicker than moments before. Her breath trembled in the stillness as time stretched thin. She whispered a shaky plea for the fear to ease. Nothing answered, except the low hum of the refrigerator. Emily took one slow step backward toward the front door. The wooden floor groaned beneath her heel in protest. She flinched at the sound as if it were a scream. Her phone lit again, with another incoming message. This one appeared instantly, like it had been waiting. "I see you." A cold shiver raced up her arms in sharp waves. She scanned the living room, searching for any movement. Her eyes darted between the corners she once trusted. Every familiar object now felt like a potential threat. The lamp flickered again, with a faint electrical crackle. Emily swallowed hard and moved toward the light switch. Her fingers hovered above it before she pulled away. The darkness seemed to respond every time she acted. She didn't want to give it more reasons to shift. She stepped toward the window and parted the curtain slowly. The car outside was still idling without a driver visible. The shadow she saw earlier had vanished without a trace. The empty space where it stood felt more dangerous now. Emily fought the urge to run into the street screaming. Staying inside felt safer, yet more terrifying at once. Her phone vibrated again, relentless in its intrusion. She hesitated before lifting it with a shaking hand. The new message appeared with chilling precision. "You shouldn't hide from me." Emily backed away from the window abruptly. Her shoulder bumped into the edge of the sofa. The impact sent a jolt of panic down her spine. She wanted to call someone, anyone, for help. But her contact list suddenly felt useless and distant. She tried dialing a friend, but the call dropped instantly. The signal bar vanished from the top of her screen. Emily stared at it in disbelief, feeling the trap tighten. She whispered a curse under her breath and stepped away. Her footsteps echoed too loudly in the tense room. She moved to the staircase and peered upward carefully. The second floor looked swallowed in untouched darkness. A faint rustling sound drifted from one of the rooms. Emily pressed her hand against the wall for support. Her legs trembled as she tried to steady herself. Every instinct told her not to go upstairs. But every other instinct said she wasn't alone below either. The phone vibrated one more time with chilling patience. She lifted it slowly, bracing herself for the next line. "Come up." Her heart slammed painfully against her ribs as the choice closed in. Emily froze at the base of the staircase, the message burning in her mind. Her fingers curled around the phone as if it could protect her. The rustling sound upstairs grew louder, more deliberate than before. She swallowed hard, trying to calm the storm inside her chest. Every instinct screamed to run, yet her feet remained glued. She placed one hand on the railing and started climbing slowly. Each step creaked under her weight, sounding too loud in the silence. The shadows on the wall stretched like fingers reaching for her. Her phone vibrated again, casting a cold glow across her face. "Don't be afraid," the message read in the same chilling tone. Emily's stomach churned as she tried to convince herself it was a joke. The hallway at the top appeared empty, but the air felt thick. A door at the end of the hall moved slightly, as if breathing. She approached it cautiously, her hand trembling over the knob. The doorknob was cold, almost icy against her palm. She pushed it open slowly, forcing herself to look inside. The room was dark, but movement flickered at the edge of her vision. Her heart thudded painfully, echoing in the quiet space. She stepped inside, phone held high to illuminate the corners. Nothing seemed immediately there, yet the air felt alive. A chair rocked slightly in the corner, though no one sat in it. Emily backed away, feeling a wave of panic she couldn't contain. The phone buzzed one more time, cutting through the tension sharply. "You're closer now," the message said, cold and knowing. A sudden noise behind her made her spin around instinctively. The window rattled as if something had slammed against it. Her reflection in the glass showed wide eyes and pale skin. She whispered her own name, trying to convince herself she was sane. Footsteps sounded from the other side of the room, soft but clear. Emily's body froze as the sound grew closer with every second. The shadows in the corners seemed to shift toward her slowly. She realized the messages weren't just warnings, they were invitations. Her phone vibrated once more, insisting she read it immediately. "Look behind you," it said, simple and terrifying. Emily turned slowly, dread coiling in her stomach. The far corner of the room was darker than the rest. A figure stepped forward, just enough to be partially visible. Her breath caught as recognition slammed into her all at once. It wasn't a stranger, yet the presence felt alien and threatening. The air grew colder as the figure moved closer, silent but purposeful. Emily's fingers shook around the phone as she considered her next move. Her mind raced for a plan, but reason felt distant and useless. The room seemed to shrink with each heartbeat, compressing her fear. Her phone buzzed again, vibrating against her palm insistently. "You can't run," the message read, as if the sender knew everything. Emily stumbled backward, searching desperately for an escape route. The figure advanced, slow but deliberate, shadows wrapping around them. She realized she wasn't dealing with an intruder alone. The person, or whatever it was, knew her intimately. Her fear spiked, sharp and undeniable, locking her in place. Every instinct screamed to flee, but the hallway was empty behind her. Emily's only option was forward, into the unknown presence waiting. The phone buzzed one final time as she braced herself for what came next. Emily's legs trembled as she faced the figure in the corner. It stepped closer, the darkness swallowing its outline slowly. Her phone trembled in her hand, vibrating without pause. The last message glowed again, casting pale light across her face. "Don't scream," it read, simple, precise, and horrifying. Her throat tightened as she tried to form words, failing completely. The figure stopped just a few feet away, silent and imposing. Emily took a hesitant step backward, searching for a door. The hallway seemed longer than she remembered, shadows stretching. Her heart pounded, each beat louder than the one before. A sudden gust of wind rattled the window, making her jump. The figure raised a hand slowly, deliberate, almost patient. Emily's mind screamed to run, but her body refused to move. The phone buzzed again with an incoming message, relentless. "I'm inside," it read, sending chills down her spine. She glanced around frantically, trying to spot another exit. Her eyes caught the stairwell leading back down, but too far. Every step she might take felt like it would announce her presence. The figure moved slightly, the shadows bending with it. Emily swallowed hard, forcing herself to think despite the fear. Her fingers hovered over the door handle, trembling uncontrollably. The phone buzzed again, almost as if urging her toward action. "Close the door," it read this time, cold and commanding. Emily hesitated, unsure if obeying would help or hurt her. The figure's presence pressed in, making the air thick and heavy. Her breath came in short gasps, hot against the cold silence. She took a step toward the door, then stopped, hand on the knob. The figure tilted its head slightly, observing her carefully. Emily's pulse slammed in her ears, drowning out every other sound. The message buzzed again immediately after, impatient. "Do it now," it demanded, sharp and merciless. Her hand shook violently as she gripped the handle tightly. She yanked the door closed with a sudden burst of energy. The room plunged into darkness, only her phone illuminating briefly. Emily leaned against the door, her body trembling violently. The vibrations of the phone echoed in the silent room. She glanced at the screen, and another message appeared instantly. "You can't hide," it said, final and absolute. Emily pressed her back to the door, her mind racing furiously. Every corner of the room seemed to watch her, alive with threat. The phone buzzed again, demanding attention, relentless and cold. Her eyes darted toward the figure, but it had vanished silently. Only the lingering shadow remained, stretching along the walls. Emily realized she wasn't safe anywhere in the house tonight. Her pulse surged as the messages became more frequent, more personal. Each one revealed knowledge of things she never shared. Her hands shook as she clutched the phone, trying to stay calm. The shadows shifted again, whispering secrets she wished forgotten. Emily backed toward the hallway, her mind desperate for a plan. The phone buzzed again, each vibration like a heartbeat of danger. She realized she had to move, though every instinct screamed to stay. The figure wasn't gone. It was only waiting for her next mistake. Emily's fear became sharper, more precise, driving her to act. She gripped the phone tightly, knowing whatever came next would define her night. Emily moved down the hallway cautiously, her phone casting brief light ahead. Every shadow seemed alive, stretching and twisting as she passed. Her breath came fast, shallow, betraying the panic in her chest. The phone buzzed again, insisting she read another message. "They're watching," it read, sending a shiver down her spine. Emily's eyes darted to every corner, searching for movement. The living room appeared empty, yet the air felt thick and heavy. She passed the staircase carefully, avoiding the steps that groaned. A floorboard creaked behind her, sharp and sudden in the silence. Emily spun around, but no one was there. The shadows clung to the walls like living things. Her phone vibrated again, relentless, and she hesitated before reading. "Don't turn around," it said, the words cold and precise. Emily froze, every nerve in her body taut with tension. She took slow, measured steps toward the kitchen, heart hammering. The air smelled faintly metallic, like blood or rust. Her fingers brushed the countertop, grounding her in the moment. Another message arrived instantly, the phone buzzing in her palm. "Behind you," it read, sharp and terrifying. Emily's pulse spiked as she whipped around instinctively. Nothing moved, yet the silence pressed down harder. Her breath caught as she realized the message was right. She stepped backward, trying to put distance between herself and the emptiness. Her phone buzzed yet again, vibrating urgently against her fingers. "Closer than you think," it said, calm and terrifyingly certain. Emily's eyes searched every shadow, every darkened corner of the room. The living room lamp flickered violently, sending dancing shadows across the walls. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to remain unseen. Her mind raced, thinking of escape routes, any possible exit. The front door seemed miles away, the street empty and silent. Emily inched toward the staircase, knowing she might have no choice. The vibrations of her phone seemed to echo in the empty house. Another message appeared, chilling her further. "They're inside now," it read, simple and absolute. Emily's hands shook violently as she gripped the railing. She began to ascend the stairs carefully, one step at a time. The shadows seemed to stretch along the walls, reaching for her. Her phone buzzed again, as if urging her onward relentlessly. "Keep moving," the message demanded, sharp and final. Emily's pulse thundered as she reached the second-floor landing. The hallway stretched ahead, dark and oppressive. She tried the doors along the hall, all locked or empty. A faint creak echoed from the end of the corridor. Emily froze, heart racing as she strained to hear. The phone vibrated once more, a warning she couldn't ignore. "They know your every step," it said, cold and precise. Emily's breath quickened as she moved toward the last door. The figure she feared could appear at any moment, unseen. She gripped the doorknob and twisted it slowly, praying for safety. The door creaked open, revealing darkness beyond, thick and suffocating. Her phone buzzed again, and the message appeared instantly. "You can't escape," it read, final and terrifying. Emily stepped inside, the shadows closing around her. The hallway behind vanished into silence, leaving only the darkness ahead. Emily entered the dark room, her phone's light shaking in her hand. The air was thick, heavy, pressing down on her chest. Every step she took felt amplified in the silence. Her heart hammered as she tried to see what lay ahead. A shadow moved at the edge of her vision, slow and deliberate. She froze, barely breathing as it shifted closer. Her phone buzzed violently, lighting the room with harsh flashes. "Turn around," the message read, cold and commanding. Emily's stomach twisted, every instinct screaming to obey. She spun slowly, scanning the corners for the source. Nothing appeared, yet the feeling of being watched grew stronger. The floorboards creaked under her weight, echoing too loudly. Her pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out rational thought. The shadows seemed to stretch toward her with each heartbeat. Emily took a cautious step backward, pressing against the wall. Her phone buzzed again, almost violently, demanding attention. "They're behind you," it said, simple, precise, and terrifying. She froze, gripping the phone like a lifeline. A faint whisper echoed through the room, low and deliberate. Emily strained to listen, every nerve on edge. The shadows flickered violently, forming shapes that twisted unnaturally. Her breath hitched as she realized the figure was closer than ever. The phone vibrated one more time, insistent and urgent. "Look up," it commanded, final and cold. Emily's gaze lifted slowly, dread coiling in her stomach. The ceiling above shifted, shadows bending into impossible forms. A silhouette emerged, hanging just out of reach, yet impossible to ignore. Her chest tightened as fear and disbelief collided violently. The message buzzed again, relentless in its demand. "They've been waiting," it read, ominous and absolute. Emily's hands shook as she held the phone, desperate for guidance. The figure moved downward slowly, gliding closer with silent menace. Her instincts screamed to flee, but the room felt like a trap. The shadows writhed and twisted, closing off escape routes. Emily pressed herself against the far wall, hopping to vanish into darkness. The phone buzzed again, lighting the space with harsh, sudden flashes. "Not hiding," it said, cold and accusing. Her breath came in sharp gasps as she realized the truth. The figure knew her fears, her movements, even the tiniest details. Emily's mind raced for a plan, any way to survive the night. The shadows grew taller, bending toward her like living entities. Her pulse surged as the figure reached the floor mere feet away. The phone buzzed one last time with a final message. "Face me," it read, inevitable and terrifying. Emily's body trembled, but she knew she couldn't escape now. Every instinct urged surrender, yet she forced herself to stand. The shadows twisted fully, forming the figure in terrifying clarity. Her phone's light revealed a familiar face, distorted and cold. Emily's heart lurched as recognition hit with full force. It was someone she had once trusted completely. The figure smiled faintly, a cruel, knowing curve of the lips. Emily swallowed hard, fear and betrayal mixing violently. The shadows closed in around her, leaving only the figure ahead. She realized the night was far from over, and escape was uncertain. The phone vibrated one final time, fatting into silence. Emily faced the figure, her mind racing, trapped in darkness and fear. Emily stood frozen as the figure stepped closer, shadows clinging to its form. Her breath came fast, sharp, each inhale a struggle against panic. The phone lay forgotten in her trembling hands, its light fading. The figure stopped just a few feet away, silent, observing her. Emily forced herself to look, though every instinct screamed to run. Its eyes met hers, cold and familiar, filled with knowing malice. A faint smile curved its lips, cruel and unyielding. Emily's mind raced, searching for an escape that wasn't there. The room felt smaller, the shadows pressing in from all sides. Her pulse thundered, echoing like a drum in the heavy silence. The figure extended a hand slowly, deliberate, impossible to ignore. Emily took a hesitant step back, heart hammering against her ribs. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, intensifying the dread. The figure's voice, low and chilling, broke the quiet. "You can't hide from me," it whispered, every word a weapon. Emily's legs weakened, yet she forced herself to remain standing. The shadows shifted around the figure, wrapping closer with intent. Her phone buzzed one last time, but the screen remained dark. The figure moved closer, patient, inevitable, leaving no way out. Emily's fear peaked, sharp and unrelenting as the darkness closed in. She realized then there was no running, no hiding, no escaping tonight. The figure's presence consumed the room entirely, shadows devouring light. Emily braced herself, trapped and exposed, knowing the night had won. Silence fell after, thick and absolute, leaving only the lingering dread.